This rather grand light on a gate pillar is sort of what you'd expect from Buckingham Palace. I thought it would be a good exercise for a 10-minute drawing, particularly just to focus on this black metal 5-lantern light fitting that's there. So this is all about observation, both in seeing what shape, what size, what proportions, the various components of these lanterns at these angles form, and also being able to put them in space in the right position to each other so that they look as though they're attached to this center post in a square shape with one protruding up the top. So there is a fair bit to get right in this, even just drawing the lanterns. Now let me say, I actually drew this last night, and when I'd finished, I really wasn't happy with my drawing, and I thought, no, look, I'll need to draw this again in the morning. So that doesn't happen often. So I thought I'd show you my first drawing at the very end. So hang around for that, and I'll just point out what was, in my mind, fundamentally flawed with it. So this is my second take, although there is a good night's sleep in between. But it's basically all through observation of the shapes we have in the lantern. Firstly, within the same lantern, so that's not quite high enough, that rounded bit on top, and it goes out just a little bit too far on each side. And that's partly because I made that center section a bit too wide at the start, which then pushed out the sides more. However, I've got a few more that I can keep practicing on. So now I'm just trying to work out which one to do next. I'm going to do the top one because that also has the vertical post attached to it, and it comes right up behind this one. So I'm working hard to just position my lines in relation to the first lantern according to the reference. Reminder that you are watching this in real time. The first, I think 10.5 or 11 minutes are in real time, and then I double time, actually go 4 times speed to put a bit of line work just to make the actual metal lantern parts black. And then I also, in the end, decided to do the carved stone supports, which was fun to do. But you certainly won't go beyond this black metal 5-lantern gate light set in 10 or 15 minutes. Or maybe you will, but I couldn't. So now I'm doing the second one. You can see that each one does become a little bit faster because we do become familiar with what we're drawing. However, that can have a big danger, and I'm about to discover that in this next one, and that's, so I'm just aligning the base of this one as below the base of the first one I drew, so I need to just drop it slightly. That didn't look like I dropped it slightly, did I? And also align the top, and I also want to get the distance from the upper one right as well. So I'm looking at the gap, the sky that we see between the two parts, trying to work out what was happening. Now, the trap I almost fell into was that the angle with which we're viewing this one, which comes off at 90 degrees to the first one, is different, and we don't see the glass component, the glass faces of this lantern at the same angle that we happen to see the first two that we drew. And so with this one, we only see 2 facets of the lantern because there are 2 more that go away from us that we're so close to being front onto scene, they're not really obvious that they're even there at all. And so the effect is very different. And if we jump across to the lantern on the other side, which is the extreme left one, we see that the angle for this one is the same as well. which is not surprising since they line up on the horizontal. So now I'm just adding the top and the little crown on top. The little crown on top of these domes on top of the lanterns. The sort of detail we have to work really hard not to let them get too large. I don't know that we ever succeed with that, but at least it will still be smaller than it would have been if we hadn't been trying hard not to let it be too large. And so now I'm doing my fourth lantern and the third of the four lower ones. Again, I'm aligning in the reference with what I've already drawn. And I'm not just aligning it with that first lantern I drew, but I am actually looking across on my reference and on my drawing to the lantern across the way there, and observing that this one has to be lower than that one. And if I find that my lengths are out, then sometimes, and if it's too much of a distance from where it should be, sometimes by splitting the difference in what I draw, it helps, in my thinking, massage the drawing back to, in the end, looking closer to being correct than it otherwise would. Now, it's really not clear what's happening in here. We really can't tell exactly how these work. And I couldn't tell last night before I added lines over it. For some reason or another, I've got less chance of working out this morning. So you can see I did a bit of a dotted line down to get the vertical plumb line. And now, with shapes such as this, I like to draw the segments stacked on each other. I find that that's the best way to get symmetry. We want the left and right sides to line up, and we want any horizontal banding or patterning to obviously be on both sides of the silhouette in the same place, in the same way, simply flipped. And I do find this is the easiest way to manage this. Certainly coming down in a line that goes in and out for the silhouette on each sides is, I think, a remarkably difficult way to achieve symmetry. But if you can do it, that's great. The good thing, though, about drawing the sections is that they help give me a sense of, or remind me of, the roundedness of this. That this is not two lines with black infill. This is a rounded pipe structure that's basically got decoration stuck onto it. And now I can add this final lantern and just see how much it aligns or doesn't align. So we're getting close to the end of this section. If you're finding this helpful, this series helpful, please hit the like button and help me out. There is possibly a little more challenge with this than might be first apparent, but it is a good exercise. And it would be a helpful exercise if you're thinking, oh, it just looks too complex. Then just draw the closest lantern and let that be the way you use this. Really seek to nail either the two closest lanterns, whether it's that first one I drew or the third lantern I drew. I can recommend that that's a good way to go. So now we have a lengthy break while we were doing, I don't know what, maybe working out what I was going to do. That's the problem with this. I don't edit out in that first 10-minute section. I let you see all the thinking time. And I didn't change my pen, so it wasn't that. I wasn't searching through pens. So now we have another section, another series of shapes to join. And I think I'm looking at that thinking, it doesn't go out quite far enough on the right-hand side. And I just start to do, just working out exactly lining up the stonework with the lanterns and their width. So again, it's always aligning in the reference with things we've already drawn, and then in our drawing, aligning where we're going to draw things next with what we've already drawn in the same way, and often using dots just to give me a chance to cross-check whether, now, is that in the right spot? Is that correct? And so now I'm starting to work on the stone, and I think I've moved into double time by now. Yes, yep, it's getting nice and zippy. But you can see what's happening. If you'd like to see me do this stonework section in slower time, you can use the cog icon that you'll find there in your YouTube tools that they provide with each video, and you can slow this down to half speed, which will make it only double speed if that's more useful, if you just want to have more of a chance to catch the order in which I drew what is a fairly complicated little bit of sculpture. With this swag of fruits and flowers that we have on each side that joins the diagonally protruding rounded sections on each corner, it's really important to realize that the angle we see these swag, I've actually only just switched to double time now. It's important to realize that because of the angle we're viewing, each side of this curved swag is not symmetrical. We see one part of it far more prominently, and the other side is more foreshortened. Even more so on the right-hand side swag. So again, this is where it's easy to presume, oh, I know what I've seen. This is a semicircular sort of curve of fruits and flowers. But that doesn't take into account the angle with which we're looking at it. And this is where I think it's very helpful to see the three-dimensionality of the overall shape of this swag. And then we get a sense of there's a lot of it coming at me in the lower right section compared to the left-hand side of it. And even more so on the right-hand side one. So fairly quick line work here. So this drawing actually took me 20 minutes in real time for the entire drawing. So if you'd seen all of it at real time, it would have been 20 minutes. And in a moment, I'll show you the one I did last night. I'll just get this black line work in, and then I'll let you see what I did and explain the main reasons I was unhappy with it, although I have given you some hints of that before. Now, I'm also giving a sense of what we see through in these lanterns with the lanterns behind. That's one of those things that can be a bit tricky to work out just how much detail to go into, but I still wanted to keep all that fairly light so that the actual lanterns stood out primarily. And here we have it. Here's this, my take in a 10, in inverted commas, minute daily drawing of the lantern on the gate outside Buckingham Palace. Why not have a go? The photo, of course, on my channel community page. And here's the one I did last night, just in comparison. You can see the lanterns are too large for the scale of the support post, and also that they're not in the right proportion of size to each other. The uppermost one seems to be the largest, and yet it's further away than at least two of them. So, and I had some problems with the lower right section of the support to the stonework. But that's how it was. I decided it looked too lumpy and clunky, and I wanted to have a better go at capturing the angles and the proportions. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. I hope you found this interesting. And I thought this wouldn't be too much of a problem, and it turned out to be a greater challenge than I thought, but I managed to use it still as a learning experience, which is the point of all these daily drawing practice exercises. Why not give it a go yourself? See if it's as much as a challenge for you as it was for me. But whatever you draw, however you draw it, however it turns out, however many times you draw it, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.